on pole to 4th and 5th positions on the grid. This is the beautiful Mexico City circuit, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, named after the late great Rodriguez brothers. It's a 4.4 kilometer circuit, 2.7 miles, dauntingly fast. They're going through the S's at the moment, this 19-car field. And it has perhaps one of the world's most daunting corners, the 180-degree banked Peraltada, scene of a lot of accidents over the last few years, especially this year, where Ayrton Senna in the Grand Prix managed to turn his McLaren over, where 2 years ago Kenny Atchison, leading the World Championship with Mauro Baldi, crashed during the race and wrecked Baldi's chances of taking the championship. So here come the field, behind the pace car, they're lining up for the start, 98 laps ahead of them, the 7th round of the World Championship. Jaguar needing just 3 points to win the championship today. It's been raining overnight, 2 days of rain in qualifying. You can see the cloud and mist in Mexico City, the world's biggest city. There's the grid. And as we see the grid, the lights have turned to green, the field is off, and Philippe Alliot for Peugeot has gone straight into the lead from Keke Rosberg. Carl Wendlinger in the Mercedes third there, David Brabham for Jaguar fourth. Into the curve of Moises Solana, that first fast series of bends at the end of the 190-mile-an-hour straight. And there's Peugeot already pulling away, just as they did at Manicure. Are we going to see a repeat of the Manicure race, where Peugeot totally dominated qualifying and the race, taking their first 1-2 this year? Very, very good pictures indeed from Mexico. Not something that Mexico is particularly noted for, is the quality of pictures, but look at this. Look at this nice sharp picture we got today from Mexico. There's not a lot of haze there today. There's been rain over the weekend. The smog that Mexico's famous for is not here. It's been washed away, and it's a nice clean track, giving Peugeot the chance to get that power down on those Michelin tires and go off. Now, the interesting thing about Mexico City and the circuit is it's a 6,000 feet altitude, which normally gives the turbo cars the advantage. Now, you'll realize in this race, it's only the Porsche cars that are turbocharged. We're looking at Porsches from Joest, from Kramer, the Porsche engine Courages. Now, they should technically have the advantage against the 3.5 litre cars, which you see leading the field here, the Peugeots, the Mercedes, the Jaguars, and the Spice. But such has been the advance over the last year of these 3.5. And there's David Brabham taking Carl Wendlinger on the inside, going to that first corner. End of the second lap, David Brabham, who is sharing this car with Derek Warwick. Now, Brabham's job today in the Jaguar, he's got quite a tricky job. He's not only got to help Derek Warwick to the championship, but also Theo Fabi. Fabi and Warwick in contention against each other, and he's driving for both. Which one will he be helping them more? A very difficult situation for the young Australian. Come the back markers. Peugeot. Jaguar in third place, as we saw him passing Carl Wendlinger. Carl Wendlinger teamed up with Michael Schumacher all year in the Mercedes Junior team. Now, Wendlinger, some of you may know, has just signed up for Leighton House for the last 2 Formula One races of the year. Michael Schumacher already with the Benetton team. So both these young drivers in the Mercedes Junior team being groomed for Mercedes Formula One program when they decide to come back. Car number 7 there, that's the ALD Ford of Luigi Taverna, out already. He had a big moment this morning in the warm-up, had an accident. They thought the car wouldn't start, but they have started, but looks like those problems are coming back. Peugeot number 5, Philippe Alliot. You can identify his car by the red flash above the windscreen. Keke Rosberg behind him in the number 6 Peugeot, the yellow flash on the screen. Alliot, who led the Manicure race for some time, but actually lost in the confusion of the pit stop that the team made, and gave victory to Rosberg and Dalmas, Yannick Dalmas, who had set pole position at Manicure. That was Peugeot's second victory of the year. They won at Suzuka early in the year. At the moment here in Mexico City, at the 6,000 feet altitude of this city of 20 million people, Peugeot 1 and 2. A beautiful city here. Crowded, yes. Smoggy, yes, but a wonderful atmosphere and surrounded by such beautiful buildings as the temples of the sun and the moon, the pyramids of the sun and the moon, not far away from here in this Inca center of civilization. But here are the French leading 1 and 2 at the moment. It's France to the fore again, the second consecutive race. So, with Peugeot leading Mexico City World Sports Car Championship, please rejoin us after the break. City, where Peugeot still lead the race. Philippe Alliot there in the number 5 car, just at the fastest lap of the race, 194.5 kilometers an hour. A very, very fast circuit this. One of the fastest on the World Championship trail. Peugeot have obviously found their reliability. It's proving to be a very, very strong car, this Evolution 905. It's the second version of the car that they first brought out last year. This time last year, they raced in Canada and they raced here in Mexico. They're only their second race. Here they are, 1 year later, coming back, and look how strong they are. Look how strong Peugeot have become. Where's Mercedes? Where's Jaguar, the all-conquering German team, the all-conquering British team? Philippe Alliot leading the race. Way out front there. 37 years old, Philippe Alliot. He's been racing a Peugeot this year. He won Suzuka in Japan, the first round of the championship this year. A great surprise. He's been racing for a long, long time. He was Formula Renault champion in France in 1978. He raced Formula 3 for 4 or 5 years. And of course, raced Formula 1. Had a lot of drives, a lot of iffy teams. Without being disrespectful, Ram, Ligier, Larousse. Never shone in Formula 1, but he's found his forte in sports car racing. And here he is, out front in Mexico City. The 7th and penultimate race of the year. One race to go after this. We go to Autopolis in Japan at the end of October. There you see the leaderboard. Number 2 Mercedes, the junior car, still up ahead of Schlesser. Now Schlesser has moved up into 5th place, just ahead of Bernd Schneider in the Joest Porsche. Now Joest have taken the opportunity this weekend to run 2 of their Porsches under the Salamin banner. Probably the last chance that Porsches will ever have to be competitive. They become obsolete at the end of this year when turbocharging is, to all intents and purposes, banned for once and for all. So Reinhold Joest, the German team owner, has put 2 cars in, Bernd Schneider and John Winter. And the other car for Britain's Derek Bell, Britain's 5 times Le Mans winner Derek Bell, driving with Gianpiero Moretti, the man who makes Momo steering wheels. And there is David Brabham in the number 3 Jaguar, 3rd place at the moment. David Brabham, who has shone so much this year. He won at Nürburgring in his first ever Group C race about 2 months ago, and just before that he'd won the Spa 24 Hours for Nissan. Definitely a man to look out for, a future champion, David Brabham. Still at this time only 22 years old. 26 years old, I should beg his pardon. Father of Sir Jack Brabham, of course, brother of IMSA champion Jeff, and Gary Brabham, the middle brother. Number 2 there, Carl Wendlinger, the man who's going to be racing in Suzuka for the Leighton House team, replacing Maurizio Gugelmin at that race, and then he will also race for the team in Adelaide when he replaces Ivan Capelli. And presumably will be joining the team for next year. Mercedes, following this policy of bringing on these junior drivers, they're looking at entering Formula 1, as I was saying earlier. They may not be doing it next year, but almost certainly the year after. Mercedes will be back in Formula 1 for the first time since 1955. And almost certainly spearheading their team will be Michael Schumacher and Karl Wendlinger, these 2 brilliant young Germans. the men that Mercedes have bought on in much the same way as Elf used to bring on French drivers like Prost, Tambay, Pironi. Germany's been short of great Grand Prix drivers for several years, certainly since the death of Stefan Bellof. Mercedes have seen this gap in German talent. They've brought these young men on for the last 2 years, and here they are today, reaping the rewards. Third place at the moment for the number 2 Sauber Mercedes. Not a happy qualifying for them. This car lost 2 engines on Friday morning. It's been a problem with the Mercedes C291 with their flat 12 3.5 litre engine. It's proved very unreliable in the latter half of the season. They looked for more power after Le Mans. They found more power, but with it came unreliability. And Mercedes are the first to admit that the cars are not as reliable as they'd like them to be. Around the Peraltada. Through that corner where Kenny Atchison cost Maribaldi the World Championship 2 years ago, 1989. Went off halfway through the race in an enormous accident. But everyone keeping it on the island today. 19 cars in this 7th round of the World Championship. Number 1 there, Jean-Louis Schlesser, the reigning World Drivers' Champion. You can identify his car by the red mirrors. Identical car to the number 2. The C291, a very, very pretty car, the silver arrows. But Mercedes have yet to win a race this year. It's been a terrible year. Peugeot won at Suzuka. Jaguar won at Monza and Silverstone. Then at Le Mans in June, the surprise winner was Mazda. After Mercedes had led the race for so long and had problems right towards the end, letting Mazda through to win. The championship then went to Nürburgring, where Mazda had one of their blackest days, losing both cars very early in the race in front of their home crowd. They went to Manicourt, and again they lost both cars, letting Peugeot win that race. So 2 races to Peugeot, 3 to Jaguar, 1 to Mazda, and nothing for Mercedes this year. The people who dominated the championship in 1990 to such good effect. Karl Wendlinger, the number 2 car, currently 3rd. Schlesser's definitely closing on him as they come across the start-finish line. There's been no problems. The cars look very strong indeed at the moment. They run slightly richer, of course, there's less air, so they have to play around with the fuel mixtures. There's the gap between the 2 Mercedes, although looking on the screen, it looks a lot less than 2.4 seconds. Out through the back of the circuit, down towards Retorno. Now this circuit at Mexico City, named after the Rodriguez brothers, Hermanos Rodriguez, after Ricardo and Pedro Rodriguez, Mexico's 2 great famous sons, was actually based on Monza. And it's changed a little over the years. It used to have more bank corners, but basically the Monza layout remains. It's in a park right in the center of the city, a very pretty park. In between training sessions, all the population are out jogging, and Jesus Prayer there in the Brunn Porsche, the Repsol Brunn Porsche, and behind him, now here's the new car. We've only seen this car once before in a race this year. This is the new Conrad Lamborghini, Stefan Johansson at the wheel. Jesus Prayer here, the Spanish driver in this Spanish-speaking country. Stefan Johansson giving him a hard time. Pereira, the man who was burned last year in Canada. They had this terrible accident when a manhole cover was ripped up. And Johansson making a move. This is going down the inside. Through he goes, moves up a place. Through the S's section out in the park. Stefan Johansson. Only the 2nd actual race start for the Conrad car. You can see the Chrysler badging there. Lamborghini owned by Chrysler Motor Corporation. Pulling away immediately. This car's working very well, but they do have a problem. The number 21 Conrad car has had starter problems all weekend, and they're very worried that when they get to the pit stops, the car may not start again. Stefan Johansson powering ahead there. Formula One driver, 35 years old. to adapt to anything. He's been racing Formula One since 1983 when he started with Honda, in fact, with the Spirit Honda on its debut. There's Cor Oyzer, the Dutchman, in the Euro Racing Spice. Now, he shouldn't be back that far now. The Spice should have had the advantage here. The factory Spices last year were well up, but already they're being gobbled up by the leaders. Number 13 car there, which is the Courage of Pascal Fabre. We saw that car stuck in the gravel, remember, at Manicourt. Lionel Robert put it in the gravel, and here come the leaders. Here's the Peugeots carving through already. Philippe Alliot catching up already. We can only be on about the 8th lap. Closing inexorably in. Alliot climbing all over the back of Pascal Fabre there in the Porsche-engined Cougar. Now, having Porsche a turbocharged engine, you'd think the Cougar would have the legs here. These turbocharged engines make their own atmosphere, whereas the Peugeots, like the Mercedes and Jaguars and that Spice, are gasping for breath with this rarefied atmosphere. Not only the engines, of course, but physically demanding for the drivers. You have to get conditioned to this height. Same height as Kailami circuit in Johannesburg. The world's two highest racing circuits, Kailami and Mexico City. And here we are at Mexico City with Philippe Alliot leading for Peugeot. He's just passed Cor Oyzer, the Flying Dutchman. In the Euro Racing Spice, which the Spice factory at Bicester in the UK is helping to develop. Euro Racing's one and only season with Spice, because next year they're changing to Lola with Judd engines. Alliot passes Jesus Prayer there. There's Manuel Reuter, the number 11 Porsche Kramer. Also seems to be struggling a bit. Now, he's had understeer problems all weekend, and he's complained bitterly. The car's been 3 seconds slower than it was last year, yet they've done a lot of development work. Just can't get the car to work. Mercedes both carving through, Karl Wendlinger and Jean-Louis Schlesser. And the Mercedes are definitely both catching on the Jaguars, or the Jaguar. David Brabham there, he's being caught now. Whether he was held up by the traffic ahead or whether he's just dropping back and the Mercedes are speeding up, well, we'll find out after the break, so please don't go away. We'll be back in just a moment. On this dry